Welcome to the AI Business News Desk. Terry Sweeney here, contributing editor with AI Business. And joining me now is Jayeeta Putatunda, Director of AI Center of Excellence at Fitch Group Incorporated. Jayeeta, thanks so much for joining us on News Desk today.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Excited to be here.
We are talking about building production-ready AI agents. I'm going to assume that most of our viewers know what an AI agent is at this point.
Okay.
Tell us what you mean by a production-ready AI agent.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of angles to it that you have to think through when you are, say, starting your POC or MVP and testing out. Because there's a ton of AI agent frameworks these days. There's Crew AI, there's open source, there's LangChain or LangGraph, which is very, very well known. The moment you are out of your, I would say, POC mode, and you're trying to put it in production where there's issues with what kind of questions your users might ask. There's issues about your data inaccuracies because when you're building your POC and you're in a safe environment, you are just using different chosen steps of data. But when it's out there in the wild, will your agent pipeline be able to handle those differences in data strategies, the kind of questions people are asking? And another point is that, are you doing the right kind of observability? That is, at each stages of the AI agent's actions that they are taking, are you tracking it so that you can trace it back to how it took that decision, which tools it accessed, did it fail at any stage, and why did it fail? And that's how you really build a solid production-based AI agent.
You're a software developer. I'm not. How would you rate the triviality of updating, say, the mission of an AI agent?
Okay, so it has a ton of steps that we have to go step by step, right? First, you have to figure out why did it fail, right? And did it fail because it took a wrong decision? Did it fail because it took the right decision, but failed to incorporate the change correctly? So based on, and that's why observability and evaluation and traceability is so critical these days. I'm sure all of our audience have heard about ML ops, that is machine learning ops, and how you do evaluation. Then came LLM ops, that is how do you really evaluate the large language models. The recent nomenclature is agentic AI or agent ops. So how do you really control the agentic environment where there's not only one agent, multiple agents? How are they communicating to each other? Which stack is failing at what point? And is it incurring more recurring wrongs in the downstream task? So
Wow.
ton of angles to
I
consider
guess.
here.
Production-ready AI agents also need to be able to scale, but to what level and with what kind of capabilities? How do you see that?
Yeah. So scaling is very similar to how we would consider for any application, right? It should be able to handle load, how many users are logging in at the same time. But with agents, there's a different angle as well. The moment you are letting an agent run a self-decisioning pipeline, by that I mean, say in your workflow, you have 10-step decisions that you need to make. Example, take a look at this data, find what the anomalies are, find the source of the issue, and then write a technical report, not like a summary report for a non-technical executives. So that's a step-by-step pipeline. Which stage where the agent is actually not able to scale would be the more critical decision-making stages where it's actually running analysis. So all of that load needs to be considered really, I would say, thoroughly tested in multiple batches, tested out in the wild, maybe with your beta users and your initial alpha and beta test users. But the only critical goal that I always keep in mind is that evaluation at every stage possible so that you can trace back and see where it failed, how it failed, and build your iteration development from that.
Okay, so I'm hearing about autonomy. I'm hearing also about control.
Yeah?
These features are definitely at odds with one another.
Yeah.
How do you balance them without undermining the productivity of the agent?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a million-dollar question. I don't think there is a right answer or a only specific answer, but I think it's a case-to-case decisioning. I'll give you a couple of examples, right? Say, if your use cases, you are summarizing a document or summarizing news articles or summarizing any kind of document, and that user is all your internal users. You are not putting it out for your external clients and users, maybe the autonomy could be a little higher, and you would trust your agent that you have trained the models enough, you have given it enough examples where it would run the process correctly. Versus if you are doing something much more complicated, like say writing an entire report with like very highly regulated information or financial industry information and putting it out there. That needs a lot of control because we are still at a very nascent stage. I know AI is all the hype right now, but to build production grade enterprise AI, where people are really trusting your output, trusting the solution, you need to have that balance between control and like how much autonomy you give the AI agent to really go end to end without any supervision. I don't think it's going to happen at all, where we have no supervision and complete autonomy.
Sure, sure. Is there a commercial entity or even a government agency, for example, that's doing some interesting sort of leading edge things with AI agents?
I think people are at least trying to understand the lay of the land, and that is a lot, because if you see in the financial space, it's highly regulated, it's highly auditable, and rightly so, So that's why I think every use case you pick would be your chance to prove the power of the technology, but when it's built the right way with the right kind of stakeholders discussing, and that's where I think there was a paper that I wrote with one of my colleagues called Responsible AI by Design, and that just talks about that when you're designing that entire application, do you have the right stakeholders in the room deciding what are the key KPIs you're measuring, what are the thresholds that you have to have, what are the diversity in data you need to use to train your models, and so much more. So designing it the right way.
How would you rate the current state of security of AI agents?
Yeah, I think it depends, and I think the industry is trying to or coming up with a ton of frameworks. There's a lot of AI observability as well as I would say evaluation standards. Some are like industry standards, like I'm sure if you've heard about Ragas, where it's trying to understand contextual elements and if it's true or faithfulness of it. But that's just the start. If you are building it in-house for your own business application, I think the enterprises need to come up with their own key evaluation matrix that's specific to that use case they're solving, and that's why subject matter experts working alongside technologists is so important to create that balanced view of the entire application.
You mentioned responsible by design a few minutes ago. Given everything that has preceded this point of our conversation,
Yeah.
tell us what responsible by design means
Yep.
in the whole of agentic AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'll start by saying that I've been in this field for almost 12 years now. When I started doing natural language processing and machine learning, evaluation was always the last step. You remember that circular design? Eval would always be in that last cycle before you put it into production. But it's no longer that's not enough no longer. So at this point, evaluation or the discussion of evaluation, how you are designing your eval framework is so critical. It actually starts with when you're choosing your use case, you're choosing your stakeholders, and you're starting with the point that, okay, what are we trying to solve? How are we going to measure it before and after? And how are we going to make sure that when we put it out there in the wild for people to test, we have like a way to balance out the model's overall freedom of how much it can make up versus making sure that we're reducing hallucination to the least and having a lineage of explanations that anybody can refer to, that why this model gave this answer or why this application gave this answer.
Wow, Jayeeta, some great snapshots and insights into the challenges with agentic AI. Thanks so much for doing News Desk today.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. Thank you.
We've been talking with Jayeeta Putatunda of the Fitch Group. This has been Terry Sweeney with AI Business. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll see you next time.